All right. Okay, so today we're gonna go over complete ionic and net ionic. Yesterday we had all our equations written down and balanced. So now we're gonna write our complete ionic and net ionic. So all of this is you're just breaking it down into its ions. Okay. So and then after that we also don't break down the solid because that's why it's a solid, because it doesn't break down. So please box your solid. So I already boxed mine here. Box it because you're gonna see it boxed 3 times. It's gonna go it's gonna remain a solid between complete ionic and net ionic. Okay. All right, so let's start breaking it down. So the very first ion that we're gonna write down, and you want make sure it's neat because we're about to write like the entire space of that line. So the first ion is aluminum. So we just write aluminum plus 3 and then aqueous. See that? Okay. All right. So far, so good. We know how to do that. And we put aqueous because that was part of its original equations that it was aqueous. All right. Next, we write down how many chlorine atoms we have. So how many chlorines do we have here? 3. So I'm going to put 3 Cl minus 1 because that's its charge AQ. So you see how we're completely breaking it down? Plus. All right. If you have a coefficient in the front, like this one right here, the 3, remember it distributes over. So how many sodiums do I have? 3. So we just write 3Na plus AQ. And because we have 3Na plus, what else do we have 3 of? Yeah, 3OH. Yes. 3OH hydroxide is -1. And if you remember, if you're like get stuck and you're like, what is the ion? Remember you wrote the ions up here. And that's aqueous. And then put your arrow. And then we get a little break because the solid does not break down. Please make sure you box it. I had somebody last year, they didn't box it. They broke down the wrong one. They had to start all over again. So let's box it. Because it doesn't break down, okay? So what's next? How many sodium atoms do we have on the right? 3. And then how many chlorine atoms? 3. This is where you might want to get like a different color. We're about to cross out. So this is like if you were to look molecularly at, you know, your reaction and what's going on at the molecular level, you'll see all these ions in that either beaker or whatever you're using. But then we have something called spectator ions. That means that they're the same on the beginning and the reactants, and they're the same on the products. So which of these would be spectator because they stay the same throughout the entire reaction? Not the solid because I don't have that on the reactant and the product side. What ions do I have on the left and the right? Which one? 3Na. So that's why they're called spectator ions because they're just there. They're not doing anything for the reaction. Okay. 3Cl. So go ahead and do that. And I like to use a different color just to make it stand out and make it look pretty. Okay. And then that's it. What do we write for the final? We just write down what we got left over. So I have this left over. I'm gonna write that down. What else do I have? 3OH. And then finally, we have our solid. Okay. And then I'm gonna go ahead and box it just so you can see that Once you box it in the beginning, you should see it in every single reaction. And notice that your answer at the end is always going to be the ions that make up the solid. So notice how we have aluminum hydroxide. Well, we got aluminum on the left, hydroxide on the right. Okay. Any questions so far about this? Okay. All right, go ahead and start breaking down this one while I write down the equation. Start breaking it down. Let me write down the equation. So which one's our first ion? Yes. Good. And then after that? 3Cl, right? 3, because there's a subscript 3 for that. Don't forget to put the ion charge, aqueous. Okay, what's next after that? Na, but how many NAs is it showing? We got 3. So you gotta put a 3 and then Na plus AQ. What about the next one? PO4. Remember PO4 is I can't show it here, but you probably wrote it up here. You probably wrote PO4 -3. So you have it up there, okay? -3 AQ. Ooh, I forgot to do something. I should have boxed the solid here, right? Because I know that's gonna come down again. We get a little break here because we don't break down the solid. And then what are our last two? Yep, 3 and 8. And then the last one is gonna be 3Cl minus, right? Just like that. So which ones are my spectator ions? Because they're the same on both the reactants and the products. 3Na. What else? 3Cl. And then we just write down what we get left over. So I have leftover Al plus 3. What else is left over? CO4. And it turns out that those are the ions that make up the solid that never broke down. So AlPO4. All it is a bunch of patterns. You'll see the same patterns over and over again. Okay. Please actually box it because that'll help you kind of remember, like, I can't mess with that. Just leave it alone. Okay. So today you're doing 3 and 4, and I'm gonna check that today. And then after I check that, you're just working on finishing the front because this is your ticket to lab on Monday. You'll be able to finish most of it today.